So far we have looked at solution of the conduction equation using the finite difference method. Now in this segment or in this module of this lecture series, I will talk about the solution of convection diffusion problems using the finite difference method. To start off, let's look at the Burger's equation, which is for a variable phi, we can write d phi dt plus u d phi dx is gamma d2 phi dx square. So phi is the unknown variable, gamma is the diffusion coefficient, and this is a non-linear partial differential equation, and it's a parabolic PD. Now this Burger's equation, which is a one-dimensional equation, is a model equation for Navier-Stokes because phi, which is a scalar, could be any of the velocity components, or it could be temperature, concentration, etc. So let's say we are looking at the one-dimensional Navier-Stokes. So clearly the Burger's equation will be du dt plus u du dx is nu d2u dx square, which is, as I said, the one-dimensional Navier-Stokes equation. Now we will look at ways of solving this kind of an equation in this segment. Now analytically, of course, this is an equation which cannot be solved unless we look at a steady state solution. Now in the limit that time goes to infinity and with the boundary conditions given by u0 comma t is, let's say, u0 and u of some l comma t is 0, this equation can actually be used to derive a solution, an analytical solution, which is not strictly, I would say, analytical, but maybe semi-analytical. So that would be given by this expression, and this is just for your information, not that we are going to use it. So here in this equation, Re is the Reynolds number, which is u0L by nu, and u bar is actually given by another transcendental equation, which is the solution of u bar minus 1 by u bar plus 1 to be exponential minus u bar Re. So this is not very important for now, but I'm just saying for information that there is a specific solution, except that is only applicable when this term goes to 0. Not that we are looking at a general solution, so this term may not always be 0, and so we are looking at numerical ways of calculating this or solving this equation. So for simplicity, to start off the discussion, let's consider the linearized Burger's equation. So let's consider the linearized Burger's equation, which is d phi dt plus c d phi dx to be gamma d2 phi dx square. Now I'm saying this is linearized because in this case this velocity c is a constant Also note that if gamma was 0, we basically recovered the wave equation, for which we have already looked at some schemes in the past. And if C was 0, we will actually get the heat conduction equation. So we've already covered these two aspects. Now the reason for choosing this Burger's equation will become very clear now. Now let's say we look at the steady state solution for this equation. So say we want to derive the steady state solution to this equation, which can be easily obtained by putting d phi dt to be 0. You can, and let's say that the boundary conditions are on a finite domain. Phi of 0 comma t is phi naught, and phi of L comma t is 0. So we can derive, and without proof here I'm giving this, that the steady state solution would be given by a very similar expression to what I wrote earlier. And this time we will have a new parameter, which is PE, which is known as the Peclet number, which is given by phi naught L by gamma. The Peclet number we'll see more and more. In fact, in the next segment of this lecture series, when you look at finite volume method, the Peclet number would be quite commonly seen there. Anyhow, so there is a steady state solution for the linearized Burger's equation, and which is quite a clean solution as compared to the nonlinear equation. But the important part that I want to convey here is that I can actually think of a common equation that represents both the linearized Burger's equation and the nonlinear equation. So the two equations can be combined. In the following manner. The way we can do it is, if I write phi t plus C plus Bu phi x to be equal to gamma phi xx, where the subscripts basically indicate the derivative with respect to that given variable. So phi t represents time derivative of phi with respect to, or time derivative of phi x represents space derivative of phi, and phi xx represents the second derivative of phi with respect to x. Now here C and B are free parameters, and they are free in the sense that, look at this first scenario. If B was 0, we would recover the linearized Burger's equation, and if C was 0 and B was 1, we would get the nonlinear Burger's equation. So that this is actually, in a sense, the general equation that I would try and work with from now on. And there's a reason for this, why I'm working with this generalized system, and I'll show you very soon now. So to show you why we are dealing with it, let's consider we're dealing with the momentum equation. And so phi is, let's say, u. In that case, the equation is u2 or ut plus c plus bu ux nu times uxx. Now note that I can recast this equation in a slightly different way. I can write this as ut plus df dx as new uxx, where I can say that f is cu plus bu square by 2, which basically means that df du is c plus bu, which is the same as is here, and clearly df dx will be df du into du dx, which I can write as c plus bu ux. So this equation that I'm proposing here is actually the same way of writing this equation. So they are interchangeable. Now what I'll do is I'll represent df du by a number a for convenience. So we'll write ut plus a ux to be equal to nu uxx. So this will be my equation in the form that I would be talking about in the rest of the lecture. So let's start with a very basic solution strategy of this nonlinear equation, and the first topic that I will start off is to discretize the time derivative and forward differencing approach and all space derivatives in central differencing approach. So we'll call this as FTCS method applied to this equation. So this is credited to Roche from 1972, and let's consider that A is only C, which basically means that B is 0. So the discretization equation in this case will be ui n plus 1 minus ui n by delta t plus c times, note that because we are doing central space differencing, so du dx will be ui plus 1 minus ui minus 1 n by 2 delta t. It is central differencing in space, so that's how the convected term will look like, and the diffusion term will be nu times ui plus 1 n minus 2 ui n plus ui minus 1 n by delta x square. The truncation error for this scheme is order delta t delta x square. That is easy to see. Moreover, the modified equation for this discretization looks something like this. We will have ut plus cux to be nu minus c square delta t by 2 uxx plus c delta x square by 3r minus lambda square minus 1 by 2 uxxx plus higher order terms, where r is the same number that we've been using throughout, so that is nu delta t by delta x square, and lambda is the CFL number c delta t by delta x. So this is the modified equation. Now you can easily see that the modified equation looks slightly different, I would say, from the original equation that we have set out to solve, because now you have this new viscosity as compared to this original viscosity here. So importantly, if you note this, if you look at this term here and note that if r is 1 by 2 and lambda was 1, this would mean that nu delta t by delta x square is half and c delta t by delta x is 1. This would lead to, just with a slight rearrangement, I can use from this equation, the second equation I would say, I can get delta, let's say x, to be equal to c delta t. Put this back here. So what we'll get is nu delta t by c square delta t square is 1 by 2, which would give me c square delta t to be equal to 2 nu, or nu to be equal to half c square delta t. So clearly, when we use r to be 1 by 2 and lambda to be 1, we can see that this number here will actually go to 0. So we'll have no viscous dissipation term. In fact, the viscous term itself is getting eliminated. But the original problem actually has this viscous term in it. So clearly, r equal to 1 by 2 and lambda equal to 1 is unacceptable. So we have to choose parameters in such a way that this is avoided. So this is unacceptable for forward time central space difference applied to the linearized Burger's equation. If we go through the stability analysis for this problem, and I'm requesting you to work this out on your own, you should see that the amplification factor for this scheme would be 1 minus 2r 1 minus cosine theta minus I lambda sine theta, which I can write as 1 minus 2r plus 2r cosine theta minus I lambda sine theta, and which I'm going to write as, because there are two components to it, a real and an imaginary component, let me say it's g real plus I g imaginary. And by comparing the two sides, I can see that g real is 1 minus 2r plus 2r cosine theta, which I can rearrange in such a way to write cosine theta to be gr minus 1 minus 2r by 2r, and similarly g imaginary will be minus lambda sine theta, which means sine theta is minus gi by lambda. And by using the identity now that cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta is 1, we can write that the real and in the imaginary parts of this amplification factor g should satisfy gr minus 1 minus 2r square by 2r square plus gi square by lambda square is equal to 1. Now what is this, and what is the reason why I brought you to this point? Now it is easy to see that this is the equation of an ellipse, which is centered on 1 minus 2r comma 0, and this has semi-major and semi-minor axis of lengths 2r and lambda respectively. So the reason for doing this I will show you now in terms of what the stability curves will look like on the xy plane. So let's look at a graphical representation of this equation and see how or what are the curves for stability for this specific scheme. So note that since I'm going to be dealing with the stability problem, so we typically want the amplitude or the magnitude of the amplification factor to be less than equal to 1. So what I've drawn here is a unit circle. So this is a unit circle, which means it has a radius of 1 unit, and we will now see how the ellipse works out within this unit circle, because essentially that is what is the locus of all on that stability function. So since it's an ellipse, we can have two possibilities. The first possibility is the following. So according to the first possibility, what we can have is that the ellipse will be centered at some point which is at a distance of 1 minus 2r from the origin. So this is the origin, right? It would have a length or a distance from the x-axis or from the unit circle would be 2r. The height of the ellipse will be lambda. So this is essentially the G ellipse, and it's easy to see that every point that we're dealing with now will be actually a point on this ellipse. So the parameterization is in terms of the angle theta. So if you look at in terms of stability, what we would really like is, so graphically we would want 2r to be less than equal to 1, because what we want is, we don't want this point to actually go beyond this unit circle, because if it goes beyond, then we have a condition of instability. So 2r should be less than equal to 1, which means r should be less than equal to 1 by 2 for stability. And secondly, we also do not want that this height or the ellipse here actually, which has a distance of lambda from the x-axis, we don't want lambda to go beyond the unit circle. So we also would prefer that lambda should be less than equal to 1. So these two conditions are the conditions for stability to start off with. So r should be less than equal to 1 by 2, and lambda should be less than equal to 1. However, it is also possible, and let me show it here on the same picture, it is also quite likely that the ellipse may not be of this type, but of a slightly different form. So let me show you what that other ellipse could be. So as you see, the other possibility is that lambda could be more than 2r, and so the minor axis and the major axis get flipped. So this will typically happen, let me denote this here, this will happen if lambda is more than 2r, and in which case this ellipse can actually have regions where the scheme may become unstable, and those regions will be given by this shaded portion here. So these are regions where we can still have unstable solution.